Just right, start again from the beginning if you don't mind.
Okay. So the question of today is your business user-friendly? And why does it even matter? Business is business and people are people. Let us just do business and that's it. Why does our business have to be user-friendly? And how does it help our business perform? So let's find out. There's a story that happened many, many years ago with two drunkards. And there was a rabbi overhearing their conversation. And for some reason, AI just could not just give me two drunkards and one rabbi. They decided to just put in more people. It was a bit of a struggle. At any rate, this is a couple hundred years ago. And the two drunkards, they were talking to each other, and they obviously were drunk, because as you can see, there's many bottles that they're drinking. And this is Russia, it's cold, it's the norm to drink and to get drunk. And one of them, the rabbi overhears one of them saying to the other, "You're not my friend." And the other drunkard says, "What do you mean I'm not your friend? Of course I'm your friend. We're friends. We're drinking together. We're buddies." And the other drunkard says, "If you're my friend, then tell me where I'm in pain. If you really, really know me, tell me where I'm in pain." And so this is very, very critical. We want our application and our website and our app and our business to be friendly. So this is actually bringing in a little plug, Intent UX, run by Nissi Einhorn, which is kind of an unofficial mentor of mine. And he always advocates, let's make your application friendly. And that's what we're discussing today. Like, why is friendliness so important? And we're gonna discuss why it's so important. So people who are going onto your website, going into your app, using your business, using your services, using your product, they expect you to understand them and to know what's good for them. You as a business owner or operating a business, on the other hand, want to sell your item. So there could be a little bit of a disconnect that I wanted to sell my item, but the buyer basically wants what's in it for him. So if we're going to be friendly with the user, with the customer, with the buyer, and we're going to show them that we understand exactly what our product and service is doing for them and how it fits into their life, they're going to be much, much more receptive to using our product, to using our services. Business is going to boom. So let's continue with that. When we think about UX, what does UX mean? And it's a very, very vague term. Like, what does user experience mean? What does it mean that we're designing user experiences? How do you design a user experience? Who are users anyways? What are we designing for them? What are we creating for them? How are we creating these experiences for them? There's a lot of different terms for just the job role of UX. Like, is it UX? Is it UI? Is it user experience design? Is it information architecture? Are you a consultant? Are you a manager? Are you a director? Are you a designer? Are you a product designer? Are you a product manager? What are you doing? Who are you serving? Who's hiring you? When does business need you? It's very, very vague. It's very, very, it's a lot of gray area there. And I want to kind of just like put the anchor down and say that UX is one thing and one thing only. And that is that it's very, very encompassing. It encompasses every single interaction a user, a customer, a buyer, anybody who's interacting with your business. That is user experience from beginning to end, from even before they start using before they interact with your business, and even after they finish. User experience looks at every single aspect, and we want to know if every single touch point is a positive experience. And obviously, the times where it's most stressful and most frustrating, that's what we want to optimize on for sure. And we want to make that a smooth user experience for sure. But we're looking at everything. We're looking at from beginning to end. So when a client comes to me and says, "Can you help me with this one thing?" I always step back and try to understand where is the user coming from? What were they just doing? What do they need to get done? What are they expecting to happen? And we're going to look at some different examples of this. So imagine you're shopping and you go online to your favorite e-commerce website and merchant. We're going to say that this story actually happened with Best Buy, even though it was just a rumor. The story goes back many, many years ago, and Best Buy decided that you're going to be able to, we're going to assuming it's Best Buy, but we don't know for sure. But I'll just use that. You're buying an item, an electronic, you put it in your shopping cart on the website, and you decide you're going to check out and you're going to pay. What happens next? What do you think is going to happen next? What do you expect is going to happen next? Well, the user for sure didn't expect to have to create an account and to have to register in order to just buy something. The users didn't want to just register and create an account. They just wanted to buy something. Why should I have to create an account in order to buy something? Can I just buy my item, put in my credit card information, and move forward? Why do I need to create an account and become part of this this community ecosystem? It didn't jive with customers. So they decided they're gonna hire this guy. Who's actually not that eccentric, but I just decided to get an eccentric picture. This is Jared Spool, and Jared Spool decided he's gonna look at what users have to do at each step of the way. And he realized that users do not want to register after they just want to buy something. They don't have to create an account. They don't have to quote unquote enter into some sort of like relationship with the company. That I just want to buy something and move forward. So, and that's where users were kind of like dropping off. And so business was really, really suffering. And the company was losing lots of money. And they didn't know why. They didn't know how to fix it. They knew where it was happening, but they didn't know what to do about it. So they brought in Jared Spool, and Jared Spool redesigned what was two buttons. Either you can register or log in. And the problem with registering is people didn't want to create a new account. And the problem with logging in is people forgot their email and forgot their password. So he decided he's gonna allow people to continue as a guest. You don't have to log in. And he added some words to it, which we're gonna look at in a minute. But how much money do you think they generated from this change? And how much would you pay this person to make that change for you? Would you pay him $300 million to design this button that you're looking at right now, which says continue as guest? Well, if you were in that business, then it would have been worth it, because that's how much they made in 1 year after this one simple change. They changed the button. They said continue as guest if you want to. And they said new customers, if you're new customers, don't worry, you don't have to create an account. You will have the option of creating an account. And what do you think happened? Many more people actually created accounts. Business skyrocketed. And obviously, Best Buy is kind of still around today, if it's Best Buy. Let's look at another example. Airbnb. I think it's fair to say that we all love Airbnb. And there's just something warm about it. Even the colors are warm. There's the design is like, it's just enjoyable to just go on their website, go on their app. Whenever you need it, it's never like, oh my gosh, now I have to like find an Airbnb. It's always like, oh, interesting. Now I have to find an Airbnb. It's interesting. Let me see what I'm going to find. And there's actually, so if you just take a quick look at this page, there's not much color here. Everything's pretty much grayed out. Like everything's like gray or black. There's a touch of pink, like in the logo, and there's a touch of pink in the search button. But other than that, there's really no color except for the pictures. And there's something really, really intentional about that. And there's something really central to the pictures that has to do with the success of Airbnb. Now, the Airbnb wasn't always having these amazing pictures on their website of places. It kind of looked more like what you're looking at right now is like amateur kind of like very low quality photos. Things weren't really set up so well. And what you're looking at on the other side is the professional photos, which really highlight the place that you want to stay at. And so it's kind of very enticing. If you're looking at a place, I would rather stay at the place with a professional photo because it's very clear, it's very welcoming, it's very bright. I see exactly what's happening there. Um, and they decided they're going to test this out. See, nowadays Airbnb is doing really, really well, but back in the day, they were really, really struggling, like struggling to make any money at all. And this is kind of the timeline of and when they started really, um, really making it successful. And I just want to highlight a few things that they've done at key points. First of all, they decided they're going to start testing with better photos. And they noticed that the photos they tested this in one specific place, in let's say New York City. And in this place, they noticed that those places with the better photos, they're getting much better business in those Airbnbs. And they decided if it works in New York City, it could work other places. They tested out in other places. It started working great. They knew that getting better photos is really going to create a better user experience for the customer. And they're gonna want to book that room because it looks great. They also did visits to Airbnbs. Even one of the co-founders started living out of Airbnbs for months at a time. And he basically literally put himself in the shoes of the user, which is really, really important. And when they started doing all these things, they noticed the business was starting to pick up. And here you can see that they actually literally offered and hired and had photographers go around. They started actually doing themselves, taking pictures of actual Airbnbs and uploading it to the website. But they decided also they're going to hire and make it available to have photographers take these photos so that people can benefit from the increase in business. And you can see that business skyrocketed after that. We're going to look at another example. McDonald's. McDonald's had a milkshake. And you may know McDonald's for like the cheeseburger, but they also had a milkshake. And they wanted the milkshake to do really, really well. And they started experimenting with different types of features in it, different types of flavors and different types of things. And like all the typical things that you would do, let's say you were a bakery, you would try to make your danishes really, really tasty. You would try to make them really fresh. You would try to do something to encourage the customer to want to buy it from you. It tastes so good. It's perfect for you. And they tried to do the same thing with this milkshake. And it just wasn't working. People weren't really buying the milkshake as much as they wanted. And the question is, how did McDonald's increase the milkshake? By 7 times, which is an astronomical number. They did it by hiring this guy. And this is Clay, this is Clayton Christensen. And he decided he's going to hire his team and literally they're going to sit outside of one McDonald's for hours at a time, up to even 18 hours at a time, just to watch customers coming and going and seeing them either buy the milkshake or not buy the milkshake. And they would just talk to them after their purchase or during the whole process. And they noticed that people who bought the milkshakes, they would ask them, what's the milkshake doing for you? Why are you buying the milkshake? The people weren't saying because it's got all these different things in it and because it's got like all this flavor and like this one better than that one. They weren't saying anything about the actual milkshake. They were talking about what the milkshake is doing for them, how it's serving them. And what they heard was that, stories like, oh, I have a long drive to work, I have a long commute to work, and need something to keep me occupied. And it takes like over 20 minutes to finish this like really cold and thick milkshake. So that's really going to help me in my commute, which is really boring. It's going to really change things up. It's going to give me the protein that I need, and it's really going to help me out on my drive. And so they decided that they're going to really change the whole marketing. They're going to stop talking about the milkshake for all the features it has. They're going to stop talking about that it has all these different flavors or whatever it has. They're going to instead they're going to talk about how it's going to help them carry out their day, how it's going to just help them have an interesting drive or things like that, or while they're waiting for something. So UX is a lot about looking at doing all this research, literally going to where the users or customers are interacting with your product or service or business, and really just like literally talking to them, literally watching them, literally engaging with them, going in their shoes. You know, for example, with Airbnbs, living out of Airbnbs, going to talk to hosts, and taking pictures, doing all those things. It's about really diving into the user's experience and experiencing it for yourself, hearing from them firsthand. And every dollar that you spend on this process is worth $100. Imagine that. Imagine that return. Imagine if you put $1 into the stock market and get $100 back. How much money would you put in? Well, let's see. If you spend $1 while you're still designing your app or website or product or service, you can spend $1. If you already designed it and you're developing it, it's going to cost you $10 to fix that same thing while you're developing it, because you have to pay developers. It's costing the business money to just have the developers develop it and then develop it again. Now, what happens if you actually launch your product? So now it's in the hands of users and customers, and you want to fix it. So now it's already been launched, and you've already spent all that money. Now you've got to refix it because you've discovered that users are having trouble with your product or service or app or website. It's going to cost you $100 because you have to redo things. And so all that money accumulates. And so that's why it's really, really useful and a great investment to spend upfront to just interact with users, see how they're using the product or service, see what they're struggling with before you start developing it and even designing it. And how do you go about that? So first of all, we are not our users. We do not know our users. We're not them. I'm not the customer. I don't know exactly what the customer needs. I must go find out from them firsthand. I can't just be a business owner. I can't just know my business really, really well. Even if my business is done really great, I still need to know the user from their perspective. And I need to go actually talk to them, go literally visit them if I need to, and see how they're interacting with my service. But what if you are the user? What if you are actually the one who's using your service? So then the question is, are you the only one using your product or service? Or are you the only one going on your app or website? And the answer is most likely no. There are other people who are using your service and your app and product, whatever it is. So it's really important to find out from them what they're struggling with, what their expectations are, and what their needs are in order to really design a great experience for them. So about last year, I came to CHYE and I did a short presentation, and my message was UX is simple. Like if you just do a few small, tiny tweaks, that can make a huge, huge difference. And I think that even today, we've discussed small things that you can do that can make a big difference. But this year, it's getting a little bit more complicated. Like we mentioned, there's a lot of different UX things going on. There's research, there's design, there's all kinds of stuff, there's development, all kinds of stuff happening. There's all kinds of people involved. There's all kinds of different UX roles to consider. So we're going to discuss a few of the main steps that you can do to improve the user experience of your business. So First thing is literally what you see right here is one person is going on a website and the other person is literally standing over their shoulder and writing notes and watching them interact. And this is called usability testing. It's basically where you're testing out the software to see if the software is holding up to an actual human in the context of where they need to use it. And that's one thing. And that's super, super helpful and super, there's a lot of great insight you can get just from, even just from watching one person use your app or website. Certainly if you get 5 people and just watch them, see what they're struggling with, you'll learn so much right away and you'll be able to improve so much right away just from that. Alternatively, you could just install like a simple software on your website, for example, or app, and you can literally see where users are looking. You can see where they're clicking. You can also just like watch them for their entire session and see what they've done and see, obviously you can't see which person that is. So you don't have direct interaction with that person. You can't ask them questions, which you could in a real, in person or, remote meeting with a user. But you could see how they're interacting. You see where they're struggling. You can see if they're trying to click on something that looks like a button or should be a button, and they're expecting to do something and they're not getting that. You can see all those. You can eliminate a lot of frustration from users just by recording their sessions on your website or app. You might be tempted to send out a survey and say, "What are you struggling with?" And I would highly not recommend it. It's usually not. I usually do not recommend it. I'm sure there are lots of UX professionals who do use surveys, but I'm personally surveys. I don't like using them. If I do use them, I use them sparingly. Even if I do use them, I try to take the results with a grain of salt, and I try to only use them where the participant is going to have to answer more like a yes or no type of question. And also, I kind of want to use them in situations where I want to just get a confirmation if my research and discovery and if my insights are kind of accurate. I just want to get like a confirmation to say, okay, yeah, actually, what we discovered by speaking to users is actually the same thing that they filled out on the survey. But otherwise, surveys don't really give users the opportunity to discuss their struggles. And if you ask somebody an open-ended question, which you can't do on a survey really, or you can't do it and expect them to respond to nobody because nobody's listening to them. So just asking open-ended questions, you get so much information from people. And this is actually the main thing that I would recommend and have been recommending to anybody who's doing business. Just try to be a little bit removed and ask them open-ended questions and let them tell you everything. It's kind of like you just open the door for them to speak and you literally just listen. There's not much else you need to do. They'll tell you everything that they're struggling with. They'll tell you all the things that they want and they need. You just have to listen, take notes, and try to figure out how to help them out in the best way. There's another thing that businesses try to do. They try to say, well, I have so many users. I have, let's say 10,000 users. I'm going to send 5,000 users this design. I'm going to send 5,000 users that design. So whenever they go into my website, these 5,000 users are going to see this design. The other 5,000 see another design. I'll see which design is performing better. I'll know from there what to improve. And this is kind of like a cat and mouse game, and I also don't recommend it. In certain industries, it is used more than others. For example, in e-commerce industries, it is used more than others. But it's not allowing you to really understand users on a deep level. It's not really allowing you, if you just speak to a few users, it takes you a half hour to speak to each user, let's say. It takes you a couple of hours to speak to 4 users. You have so much more information than waiting for weeks to get results back to see how your website performed by splitting up these designs. So that's another way, but still speaking with users is really, really the best way. And this is what it looks like when you're speaking to a user. You might be going to a coffee shop. You might be going to a cafe. You might find users where they are. You might just want to sit down literally with a pen and paper and ask them questions and hear from them what their challenges are, what their experiences are like, what their expectations are, where they're coming from, and just have a simple conversation with them. That's really all it takes. Now the question is, can you just ask users what they want? Like, let me just ask them what they want. They'll tell me what they want. We'll build it. They'll be happy, and we'll move on. Business will skyrocket. Everything will be good. And the problem is, users are really, really good at telling you what their challenges are, but they're not really, really that good at telling you what they need. Because if they knew what they needed, either they would do it themselves or they would be in your position doing your business. So you're in your position, you're creating the business, you know how to create the solutions. You just need input from them to understand what their challenges are so that you can think about how to create your solution in a better way that helps them even better. So it's not totally recommended to ask users directly, just tell me what you want, because users don't know how to tell you what they want. And if they do, it's really like speculative. Like, I would want it. Are they actually going to do it? Are they actually going to buy your product if it had that feature in it? We won't really know, unless they put money down, of course, right now for that. And there's a book written. It's actually a relatively short book, really, really popular book. It's called The Mom Test. And the Mom Test, basically, in a nutshell, is if you told your business idea to your mom, she would say, "Oh, that's such a great idea. I love it. I would totally use that business, that service." And really, she's just being nice to you. So when we speak to users, it's crucial to actually just like be so removed from like wanting to hear good things, wanting to hear bad things. I just want to hear your experience. It's okay if you tell me things that are not good. I'm just here to listen. And that's really the way to speak with users, just to speak openly with them. And you want to hear things that they're struggling with so that you can improve them. So you can just see that the book, although it was written a few years ago, it's still skyrocketing in profit. People are still running to it because it's so foundational to running businesses in general and for understanding users in particular. There's another thing to take into consideration when we're speaking to users or when we're watching users using our products or service, when we're doing all the things, we want to really be careful that we don't want to skew the data or the results. We don't want to show them that we don't want to like lead them on to give us specific answers. So there was this study done many, many years ago. It's called the Hawthorne effect. And what they did was like these managers were testing out like um different steps in the factory, and they were trying to see what would be more effective. Would it be more effective to do things this way or to do things that way? And they noticed that when the workers were knowing that they were watching them and they were observing and they were testing them, they were working differently than they were if they didn't know that the managers were watching them and testing their performance. So when we're being observed, we're gonna we're gonna look like we're all polished and we're gonna be doing everything that we think the person wants us to know. Because the human nature is we want to please people. We want to do what we think that they want from us. And when we're just in our natural environment, in our natural context, we're going to do things as we naturally want to. So it's best if we're able to speak with users or observe users using our website or app or whatever it is, if we can do it in a way that's very like non-obtrusive and just casual, that doesn't make them alter the way they're doing things. And the real key behind getting good information from users is this kind of like this marriage between um, empathizing with users, really listening to them, and for them to feel heard, for them to feel like we actually hear about their experience, and that has to be there, because if they understand, if they know that we're interested in their experience and not just for their business, they're going to be much easier to open up and really just tell you what they really think about your business, which is so crucial to hear, because once you hear that, you can improve things. So if there are any questions, we could have a few minutes of questions.
Well, I want to lead off with a question. But first of all, thank you for the beautiful presentation. You definitely presented very clearly. So could you sum up in a nutshell for every, I'm sure everyone that's on here has different types of businesses on their own, before going out and hiring a UX designer, what are the three things you recommend? I know you said basically what I heard you say is talk to users, but
yeah. So it's just talking to users. That's really the only and main takeaway from all this. If you can't talk to users, or even in tandem with talking to users, you can always run a running survey, for example, on your website. You could always run a software which captures your users, on your website, clicking around. You can always do all those things, and those things should be done. But there's no substitute to actually speaking with users directly.
what if this person, what if this business is not an e-commerce business? They're they're a consultant, and they have mostly, they have a website just for the sake of a website, but mostly they're dealing with customers one-on-one. So you're saying that even in such a business, they should call up existing customers and they should talk to them and ask them, how did you think of my service? Like what?
So the type of questions, yeah, so that's a really great point. The type of questions that we want to ask them is, what were they going through? What was, like, for example, with the McDonald's, what were they going through before they wanted to buy that milkshake? What did the milkshake do for them? And how did it help them in their life? So if somebody has is a consultant, the more they know about their client, what their situation was before then, the more they can understand what they were going through, the more they can maybe change a few things on their website that would resonate more with their clients, their future clients. So for example, I did a study with for a therapist website, and the therapist website was basically, you can improve, excuse me, you can improve, you can get through this type of thing. And when I spoke with actual people who've gone through therapy, and I focused on that point, like, what was it like to be in a situation where you needed help, and what got you to actually reach out to a therapist? And they told me things like they were in a situation where they needed to know that someone was gonna listen to them. They needed to know that they needed to know that they have someone to trust. They need to know that someone was going to hear them out. And these types of things, you can see that creating a website which says, like, empowering people, you can do this. Well, I'm not ready to do this yet. I first need to know if you're the one who can listen to me first. That's really what I need. So once you speak to a few of these types of customers, and you just understand what they're going through and what their expectations are, what their needs are, it sets you up to really create the experience for them. It's kind of like you're rolling out the carpet for them, and you're saying, I know exactly what you're going through. Let me serve you in the best way. And that's really what business is about.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Follow me there. That's where I kind of hang out. That's like my social media space on the web. And I just want to thank CHYE for hosting this webinar.
Here's a question for you before you hang off. I mean, you don't have to, but I was just thinking maybe just this would maybe tie everything you spoke about together. Can you give an example of a practical change that you saw a company implement as a result of their customer, engagement, like experience from their research and so on? Like what give us something tangible. Like, you have an example that comes to you off the top of your head?
So I have an example. I did a long study with Tour Anytime, and Tour Anytime was coming out with a new product. It was a product that basically it's a website that has for kids who are struggling to follow in school with the curriculum. So they created special videos for those kids to review their schoolwork. And one of the things that hearing from a parent and hearing from some teachers, and it was kind of almost like a concern, like a worry, like a skepticism, like, well, one second, are you replacing my 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 son's teacher? Are like what's happening here? They were confused, and they were kind of also a little bit like feeling threatened. And so one of the changes that they implemented was really, really simple. The second you go on the website and you have at some point there's a pop-up. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was a pop-up and it had a few words that they implemented, which says like, this is not to replace your teacher. If you're seeing something different than what your teacher is teaching you in your class, your teacher's material is priority, and that's the one that you should accept as fact. So that's like a small thing to just mitigate like a little bit of risk, and you could see how something like that would allow people to feel more relaxed and just enjoy the content, and not feel like there's a dissonance between the in-class and after-class material.
Got it. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you again, Shaul. Everyone, thank you for participating. Shaul, thank you again for the beautiful presentation. Again, Mazel Tov to you, the new baby. Look forward to Simchas. Everyone, stay tuned. We have our next webinar coming up. We're actually going to be doing a basic overview of HubSpot. I don't know if any of you have heard of HubSpot before, but HubSpot is it's a CRM, customer management a software with an emphasis on sales and marketing, and very their basic software is free, and it could be very helpful for people, especially people that are responsible for driving and sales for their companies. So stay tuned. That's going to be our next webinar. Ritz Hashem. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and a Freilich and Purim. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you.